Thanks for tuning in to another Miss Pursuits podcast. Today we have Jessica Haavisto from Arizona hanging out with us. She is a contributing writer of articles for Miss Pursuit. And we're going to talk about a whole lot of different things, including her elk hunt this past season, which was pretty daggum exciting. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another Miss Pursuits podcast. Today we have Jessica, who you know on Instagram as Outdoors Lady. You hail from Arizona, right, Jessica?
Yeah, I do. In Flagstaff.
Awesome. We almost got reassigned to a temporary job. My husband works for the Army Corps of Engineers, and we almost had an assignment for 3 years in Phoenix. So a little ways from you, but clear across the country for us.
Yeah.
I was pretty excited. It never came to fruition, and all this happening right now throws kinks into it, but it was a pretty cool opportunity. It would have been really neat to change the scenery up just a little from green and grassy and trees and mountains to Arizona desert. It really would have been it would have been cool.
Yeah, it would have been a big change for you.
Yeah. It would have been. I think the kids were excited. I was excited. My husband was like, is this really what we want to do? I just kept thinking of the fun adventures we could have had. I don't know. Maybe one day.
It's
But
only hot like 3 months out of the year down there, and the rest of it's gorgeous.
yeah, it's like we can do that. It'd be really neat. I don't know. Those opportunities come up every now and then, and I'm the first one to say, "Let's do it! Free spirit, all
Yeah.
in, cannonball." And he's more of my grounded. Is this really what? Are the kids really? I said, "It's going to be great. It's going to be great." So maybe one day, we'll come visit. I've been to New Mexico and Colorado and Texas. Like I've driven up all of that area, but I've never been, and I've been to California once and Seattle, but I've never been like Utah or Arizona um, or those kind of places. So I'm gonna have to make a trip.
You'll have to come.
Yes, yeah. Okay, tell me a little bit, or tell us a little bit about you and who you are, how you've kind of gotten started in the outdoors. Just what has inspired you into it. But yeah, give us some background on you.
Okay. So I was born in San Diego, and I was almost born in the desert, actually, east of San Diego. My parents and both sides of their families spent a lot of time like in dune buggies and on three-wheelers at the time,
Yeah.
camping. And I think so. New Year's, my parents were out in the buggy, and I was born on January 13th. So,
Good for your mama.
yeah, she jokes that I almost popped out then. um, and in the summertime, we were always over in Yuma, like on the Colorado River with jet boats. So every weekend, my family was outdoors. I did not grow up hunting, but I grew up fishing a little bit, and everybody in the family has guns. And so I was shooting from a very early age.
Yeah.
And recreationally shooting. We moved to Oregon when I was 7, and to a very, very small town. I think San Diego at the time was 2 million, and we moved to a town of 5,000. So
That's a great big change.
my mom freaked out, and I absolutely loved it. Everything we did was outdoors. So, and then I went to school up there at Oregon State. Probably every job that I've had was outdoors except for the last one before I moved to Arizona. And I had just gotten tired of working in the rain in Western Oregon.
It's a lot of rain.
And it was a lot of rain. So I said, let's move. And my independent spirit, I just packed up me and the dogs and went 1,000 miles back south to Yuma. Worked on a farm, so I was outside in the heat. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
Got to spend time on the river again, loved it. And I met my fiance online, and that's how I ended up in Flagstaff. And I guess I'm still in the outdoor industry. I'm the operations manager for Canyon Coolers, so very, very tied to everything that's
Yeah,
outdoors.
definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when did you start hunting?
Personally, I started hunting when maybe 6 or 7 years ago. It was before I came to Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go with some friends of mine up in Oregon, just to tag along or to spot
Yeah.
glass for people, but looking for things to do and filling the freezer, I guess. I just picked it up before I came down here.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the best way to get started in hunting is glassing and spotting and being around other people. I think you absorb so much from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And I liked the people that
Mhm.
I spent time with while I was doing that. And I realized that's the kind of people I wanted to be around. So,
Yep. It's I don't know, our whole lives. I mean, I'm pushing 40. I'm coming up on 40 now, and I think I hit 34. It was early mid 30s that I kind of realized, okay, it's better to have a small group of close-knit friends that we are like-minded and get along and support each other rather than having this huge group of people that um, are more acquaintances. You know what I mean? I
yes.
I think I kind of just realized that at that point in time that having a small amount of close friends meant more to me than knowing so many people. I don't know.
Right.
It solidified that, I think, the older I've gotten. I'm set in my ways.
Well, I just turned 38 this year.
Mhm.
That probably early to mid 30s, that self confidence really kicked in, and I
Heck
realized I
yeah.
could do stuff, that I
Yep.
wanted to do, not need some approval.
I agree. I think that, I'm grateful for that. I don't know. I've been excited about turning 40 just because of, I think, that confidence that, um, I don't second guess myself as much as I used to, and, um, I think I appreciate the history that I've had and the lessons that I've learned along the way. A
Hmm.
lot of people fear 40 and getting into their 40s and 50s. And I don't know, I'm really excited about the next decade.
Yeah, I feel like it just keeps getting better.
I do too. I would agree with that. Yeah. Okay. So you've been in Arizona for just a little bit. And
Mhm.
um, does your fiance hunt?
He does. Probably since he could walk, he's been hunting.
That's why it works.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've been the one drawing tags lately, so I am the brunt of the jokes in the family, but, they still help.
Hey, I whoever draws the tag brings home the meat, so you support whoever brings that tag in.
Oh, yes,
Yeah. You actually, drew an elk tag this past year and filled it.
I did.
That's
Um,
pretty awesome.
it was very exciting. I started out rifle hunting and then switched to archery
Mhm.
because my fiance's family mostly hunts archery, and I drew they call them units. out here.
Yeah.
So Unit 9, bull elk tag during the rut. And it's one of the hardest tags to draw in the state.
Goodness.
Um, yeah, the quality is incredible.
Mhm.
Um, they're just monsters. I mean, everywhere you look, there's 400-inch bulls, and um, they manage it for um, an older population of high quality bulls there. So
Yeah.
with just a handful of points, it was pure luck to get it. And from the moment I found out, I think I was nervous like
Yeah.
the day I found what it was, the anticipation
Mhm.
of it. And then just practicing and practicing and practicing. We started going to archery shoots,
Mhm.
and I had hurt my elbow at one of the shoots, and the doctor told me not to draw my bow for a month,
Oh.
which it gave me like 2 weeks before the hunt when I could finally pick up my bow again, and
Oh,
I wanted
no.
to make so all this anticipation was just driving me crazy. But I did what he said. I wore a brace on my arm every day, and
Mhm.
the exercises that he said to do. And um, we went from April to the start of the hunt mid September. We spent every Sunday in that unit, and it's the closest game camera we had set out. It was like an hour and a half for us to get there.
Wow.
And so we would just go and scout and check cameras and move cameras, and all spring and summer and into fall last year. We wanted to be successful.
Right.
Um, it just because of the, I guess, caliber of the tag that it was. And then I had to talk myself into the fact that you might come home empty-handed.
Mm.
Um, so we sat water holes and blinds. We chased bugles on the ground. Um, my fiance's dad and sister came to help. Um, we because it's such a fun place to hunt. there was there's only 100 tags during that time period, but
Yeah.
there was people everywhere because guides just had scouts out everywhere looking for bulls.
Oh, I bet.
Um, yeah, on top of it, a lot of it is borders the Grand Canyon National Park, so there's issues that we always played out there. If you shoot one and it goes into the park, then you can't go after it. You have to call. Like all these scenarios we're going through. I got frustrated.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to quit hunting.
Mhm.
Uh, and there were times where we'd sit on a tank and nothing would come in till after dark. And finally, on the second to the last day of the 2-week hunt, is when it all came together. So that was probably the most exciting thing ever. There were 5 bulls in the tank, and I call it a tank, but so it's like a pond, I
Uh-huh.
guess.
Yeah.
And so there's 5 of them in there all at once. They're all bugling and chasing each other around, and my nerves are going. I go to draw my bow, and I can't draw it back, and I start laughing and shut up and shoot him.
Oh my
And so
goodness.
I get my bow at full draw, and he's like 25 yards away, and then a bull walks like 10 yards in front of the blind. So all I see is his body, and I'm holding and I'm waiting, and then I made this perfect quartering away shot. It was like the most perfect quartering away shot that you could have ever made. And that was that. He didn't go anywhere.
That's
So
amazing.
it was awesome. And he's so tasty.
To boot, yay. But know
Yes.
that it's the building up. It's like you said, starting in April. Like, I
Yes.
think and people who hunt Western hunting or they hunt elk, because we hunt elk here in the East,
Mhm.
I think there's 7 tags that go out, just because we have just started reintroducing, um,
Right.
And so it's little bits, but everybody that has hunted elk knows the work that goes into it. Like, you can't just show up day 1
Right?
and shoot an elk. Like, that's just not what's gonna happen. Um, that's not it's not gonna happen with deer hunting, it's not gonna happen with turkey hunting. I mean, I guess you could get so stinking lucky, but that's normally not gonna happen. And so for the work to start in April or even for some years and years and years down the road, um,
Yes.
the amount of work that goes into it, the amount of emotion leading up to it, the amount of, like he said, frustration and exhaustion to go for a 2-week hunt, and it happened on the second to last day, to having 5 stinking bulls in front of you. Goodness
Yeah.
gracious. To hear
It was
them bugling, I don't know if I could have kept my cool.
when they're screaming in your face, it's the coolest thing.
I think I'd be in tears.
Oh, it's like I've got goosebumps right
Uh-huh.
now. It's a couple times where some smaller bulls were like 20 yards from us, just screaming in your face. They don't know you're there, and you're just like shaking with excitement and
Yeah.
adrenaline. It's
Oh my gosh. And then to find for it to all come to fruition, this completed circle, um, it's almost like, and I've had this even with deer hunts and other, like, it's you carry all this on your shoulders, all this emotion, all this pressure, all of this weight, and then you make contact. It's a perfect shot. He doesn't go anywhere. It's like
yeah,
relief comes over you because good hunters are ethical hunters, and you don't ever want to hurt something.
okay,
You either wanna miss completely or you wanna make a great shot, and so for
mhm,
that to happen, that great shot, um, it is pure relief. It's, "Oh, I did it," and
yes,
and it was perfect, and so, man, I was looking through your Instagram, and I was looking through, I don't know, I feel like I can get your emotion out of that post. Just the build up coming out. I don't know. I have felt that completion on different hunts that I've been on and the excitement of it, but man, that relief, it is a great feeling.
oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping to do it again this fall. We had made a joke the night before results came out again this year.
Uh-huh.
I applied for that same unit again because who wouldn't?
Right. You should apply every year with your luck.
I drew a different unit, but we're and nobody else in the family drew an elk tag, so I'm being teased again. Um, and it's crazy because like all my points went away except for one, and so it's an easier unit to draw, but there's still great pulls in it. It's none of
Uh-huh.
us have hunted there. I'm so excited to go learn about it.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't feel as nervous this year.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
That'll be exciting. Well, I can't wait to follow that. It'll be interesting with everything the way that it is right now, um, to
yes,
see how that's gonna affect getting in there as quick as you want to. Are you guys able to go over there and right now, or is it a no?
I well, I haven't checked yet. So in Arizona, the Forest Service they close gates
Yeah.
um, just because the roads don't. Where there's so much moisture or snow, it's just keeping people out and
Okay.
keeping the resources intact.
Right.
Uh, so over the weekend, the gates blocking roads into a lot of the area up here is we're still closed. A couple of them have opened this week,
Mhm.
so I'm hoping soon we'll still be able to go out there.
Yeah.
Um, our Game and Fish Commission had a meeting this evening, a listening session. So I'm anxious to find out how that went. But they were seeking some legal counsel on what to do
Mhm.
if public land entities want to shut down those areas, because our governor stated that outdoor recreation is essential for Arizonans. So they're trying to figure out how to handle it if they do, if the
Right.
federal agencies want to shut it down. So hopefully we'll find out about that
I hope
soon, that it doesn't impede any of those hunts.
I hope so too. That we opened turkey season this past weekend, and
Okay.
of course, private land's not a big deal. Like
Hmm.
we're supposed to be, at home, staying at home. The governor issued it for the next at least 2 weeks, um,
Hmm.
but he also deemed hunting essential.
Perfect.
So it's great. I'm grateful. I'm glad, but the state recreational parks are closed.
Oh
Um,
no.
so I was out hunting Sunday and I had a great morning. Hens coming in, hanging out with me for a couple of hours, just some good movement. No gobblers, but right at 11 o'clock, I was walking around a bend calling, and all of a sudden I see these guys walking over with fishing poles, and then I see this family over here hiking along the field that I was walking into, and I could hear more people down by the river, and I was like, "What in the world is going on?" It's
Yeah.
the opening weekend of hunting season, and I'm on wildlife management land, public WMA land, and so it was just kind of like, "What's going on?" And I thought, "Okay, I'm gonna empty out my gun. There's no hunting that's gonna happen. Like, no turkeys are gonna come around right this second. I don't wanna scare the pants off of, 4-year-old Susie over there with my shotgun going off near them, and so I pack everything up and I'm hiking out, and, I was about a mile and a half in, and I'm hiking out and I get out to where the parking is, and I was floored because it's not like a parking lot. It's just like this dirt road that you come into and you park in the grass just to find a spot, and I was the only person there when I got there. There were like 6 minivans and a couple station
Oh my gosh.
wagons and BMWs, and I understand that people are looking for places to get outside that's open, and, now there's not much going on, so you can go fishing and hiking and all of that kinda stuff, but it's opening turkey
That's
weekend. It's like, "Y'all need to be wearing orange."
no
Um
kidding.
Give us a little heads up that you're coming through the woods or something like that, but it was, a little eye-opening, just that it's a little on public land, you're going to be fighting over areas with other hunters, hopefully respectfully, um, kind of bartering and working with other hunters, but now the rec people are coming in, just the public that aren't very familiar with hunting, and the
Yes.
respect that it's given. And I think somebody was telling me that they had people come up taking pictures of the turkey and everything, and it was their decoys.
Oh no.
So it's different. Like, I feel like this season is going to be a little bit different for those out there hunting public land, um, just because you've gotta be more aware, you have to be more careful, and honestly, you have to laugh about it because you could get so frustrated about it, but I had
Are you
from
guys
do what?
are you guys required to wear orange?
Not not for hunting turkeys, no.
Okay.
Um, no, in turkey season, it is full camo, and I think that that's why when my husband so I didn't start hunting until about 6 years ago, and when my husband would go out hunting turkeys, I think that turkey season was the only season that really worried me because
Mhm.
when you're going out on property like that and you're sharing it with a whole bunch of different hunters and you're not wearing orange or you're using guns and you're in all camo and you are hiding out making turkey sounds. It scared the pants out of me with him going, and I get it now. There's like, I'm not afraid of it anymore. I'm aware and I'm respectful and I understand that I need to be aware of all of that and to be careful, but, I'm not fearful of it anymore. I used to be so scared for him, um, just because I didn't get it. But, yeah, you don't have to wear orange, for turkeys, but I would think if you were coming onto property where hunting was happening and you are not hunting, you would probably want to wear something walking through the woods to kind of give
Right?
somebody a heads up, just as a safety measure. Um,
It's amazing that people that don't hunt or fish aren't aware that that's going
mhm.
on.
That
Um,
I and you think living in Tennessee, like, do you know, I had somebody moved I've lived in Tennessee my whole life except for, like, 5 years that I lived in Alabama, but I had a friend who moved down I think sh it was, like, 7th grade, and she moved from Chicago, and here she's coming to this little bitty town, kind of like you're talking about in Oregon, just this small little town, this small little school. We had, like, 12 people in our class, in our whole grade, and, she honestly expected us to all be in overalls and barefoot. Like, that was her vision of what Tennessee, like,
oh no.
country was, and so you would think that, everybody in Tennessee would kinda understand the hunting seasons, but we've had so many transplants from California and Washington State and, a whole lot of places recently, especially, near Nashville that I would say it's not as much as you would think anymore. It's changed a whole lot here in Middle Tennessee.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's I think that, um, I think that half the people that I walked by on Sunday were like, "Hey, how'd your morning go?" I said, "Well, it was good until I had to go." And then half the people would just kinda give me this dead stare as I've got, a pistol on my side and a shotgun on my back. Kind of walking out like a badass. Oh,
But
it was funny. It was very funny, but it was, yeah. I think that it's a new normal right now, um, that balance of sharing it with everybody.
mhm,
Yep.
the pond where that blind was set up where I took that elk, I bet it was 12 feet from the Arizona Trail to the edge of our blind.
Wow.
Um, and so there was people riding bikes by and hiking by and stopping at the water um, to just to relax because
Yeah.
it's actually a road that came right in to that pond. And some other people had stopped and got out, looked around and stuff. There were turkeys at one point at drinking when some people stopped by, so they were checking them out, and it's
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. And they're just like you can hear them talking. And I wonder if anybody's in there. And we didn't say anything, but um,
You're like,
yeah.
"Yes."
And
Mhm. Yep.
they had a bike race and a foot race down those trails during the hunt too. So there was a ton of people in that area that just you had to be aware of.
Yeah. I think that
Yeah.
people so I've never been on an elk hunt. Hopefully that's gonna change.
Yeah.
But I think when people think of elk hunts, they see footage of hunts, whether they're watching a full film tour or they're watching YouTube. You see the big, huge packs the camps, like out in Colorado, the mountains, like all of that, and you think, um, you think these wide open spaces and you don't necessarily think that it can be just off a road. Um,
Right.
yeah, that's pretty cool. Um, but like you said, you have to be aware of people around you. Um, I can't I can only imagine you taking that shot and a bull going down and somebody's trying to take a picture at the same time. "Oh, look at these magnificent creatures," and one just fell.
I don't yeah, I don't think anybody was there. I
Mm-mm.
wasn't yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that would have been,
That would have been
educating.
very educational. Um, Speaking of, you do a lot of teaching. You
Yes.
and I mean, between, um I know you do 3D courses, you do, archery hunting, you do all but you also I mean, I saw, was it this year, the NWTF? You actually were there for a lot of the courses that were going on.
Yeah, I joined our chapter in WTF committee, this last year,
Mhm.
so to put on the banquet, and
Yeah.
fortunately, because of current events, the youth camp for turkey got canceled. Not the
Oh,
hunt, but just
yeah,
the camp that got put on.
yeah.
Um, and then NWTF chapter up here is a very big sponsor of our hunter education programs. And so it's been very fun teaching that because the classes are so diverse.
Right.
They're, you know, as young as 9 or 10, to go to the class, and as old as anybody wants to be that wants to take it. There's a lot of families that take it together. So some
Mhm.
parents have taken it multiple times as their kids come of age. This last year, I've started being the range safety officer for our field days,
Yeah.
which I absolutely love.
Mhm.
Um, I love the seeing people who have either not shot before or very, very little be so excited, or just that, oh my gosh, I did it. And just that little bit of confidence build in them by learning from somebody other than their family.
Yeah. Yep.
um,
I get that.
and so that part is great, but we do several classes a year. We do a camp out at the beginning of August, it's kind of unique to our chapter. We'll graduate like 75 students in a 3-day weekend. Um, and everybody comes, and most of the people come and camp, and we'll cook for them one night, and it's fun.
That
It's
sounds fun. I've been through 2 hunter safety classes. One was just myself. I was the only girl in the class. It was a whole lot of fun. Um, and I say that honestly, like it really was a whole lot of fun to be a part of that. And to
sure.
sit, like you said, sit next to a 10-year-old on one side. And I think I had like a 45-year-old on the other side of me, just to see that diversity through it. And then we sat through it again this year, my husband and I did with our 2 kids,
Hmm.
walking through the course. And I have to say, the reason that I love the diversity of it is that kids will ask questions that
Yes.
the adults in the class feel like are too, um, like they wouldn't ask that question because it might seem like a dumb question to ask, but a kid will just ask it. And
Yep.
I love that part of it. My I think my son and my daughter both had their hands up the whole time wanting to ask questions, um, and I think that the other kids in the class, a lot of the questions that they had were pertinent. Like, it was important information, that were very it surprised me how detailed those kids get in their questions. And
Oh
even
yes.
though I had been through the class, even though I'd been hunting for over 5 years, like, even though there were still answers to questions that they asked that I would learn every second I was in there, there was something that I was writing notes down, and I wasn't even
It's
taking the course again.
um, my my favorite in the classroom is some of the kids come up with some crazy things that they say,
Mhm,
and we, you like if you shoot one rifle or bow,
mhm.
it's what do you do next? Do you give them a minute if they take off, if you got to track them? We kind of talk about have a sandwich or something like
Yeah.
that, just that they can relate to. And this kid was taking the class with his dad, this last one that we did, and he raised his hand. So we called on him, what should you do? And he's like, have a beer. And, and his dad was just like, he just shrugged his shoulders, like, yeah.
That is awesome. Just
Like,
have a
well,
beer.
I guess you're done shooting, so have a beer.
Oh my gosh. That's perfect. It's a perfect answer. As long as your firearms put away. Yes. Okay, go enjoy one. But yeah, they do. They range from questions I don't know. There were questions that had to do with, what kind of knife should you use when you're field dressing, or what kind, and those are the kind of questions that I would not have sat in a class and asked.
Right.
Um, Yet the officers in that class would they stood there, and instead of saying, "Hey, you can talk to your dad about that. It's different for everybody." They actually came up with different answers. And
That's great.
I loved that part of it because I think that it gives options.
Hmm.
Um It gives validity to the question that was asked, and it gives everybody in the room who might have really wanted to ask that question, the opportunity to hear those answers. Or you
Right.
have the kids that say, so can you kill a bear if it's not in season?"
Hmm.
And of course the answer is no. I mean, there is, you know, the preservation of life and safety in that, and that of course then came up. Well, what if it's attacking my brother, or um, what if it's coming into my house to eat my peanut butter? And we're like, okay. So it
Oh, yes.
ranges from all different kinds of questions, but I think that it was neat to sit in that class as a student. It was great
Mhm.
to sit in the class as a parent.
Mhm.
I loved sitting in the class with my daughter in there as she was the only girl. Um,
Right.
and and I'll tell you this, it meant a whole lot to me and my daughter that there was a woman helping teach the class. Um,
That is why I started doing it. I was
mhm.
asked if I was interested because they wanted more women teachers
Yep.
for
Yep.
it. Yep.
That's what they were telling me. They were saying, "We need more," because it does create a situation where if you are the only woman sitting in the class, you are still not alone. You can still ask a question. You can still feel comfortable. You can, not that I would feel uncomfortable with an all male classroom, but it gives um, a mentor to look at, right?
Yes.
Um, it gives somebody to, well, she's up there teaching. Maybe I can teach one day.
Hmm.
Um, so it really meant a lot to me. And I remember getting in the car and my daughter saying that. Um, they had a teacher in there that was a woman. Did you see that, Mama? And I said,
Oh,
yes, I
yes.
did. And they notice it, and there's a sense of, I don't know. I don't know if it calmed her nerves or if it just created a situation that was familiar. Um,
Hmm.
but I know that it definitely had a sense of mentorship there, and I loved that. That it was not just me sitting in there mentoring her, that there was another woman in there doing the same thing, and you don't see that often, and it like you said, it is needed.
It's very much needed. There's 3 of us, plus, there was an intern from Phoenix that would come up and help. And then one of our local wildlife managers is a woman, and so we get her as often as we can to come teach the laws and regulations portion of it,
Mhm,
and
yeah,
she's great with kids,
that's
um,
awesome.
and has so much fun, so
Yeah, I love it, I love it. I think my daughter went up and shook her hand and said, "Thank you so much for being
aw,
here." Um,
that's awesome.
it was pretty cool. It was very cool. Um I want to before we lose time, I want to touch on one thing that really stood out to me because you are we're all contributing to Miss Pursuit right now, you and me and a couple of other ladies that have been on the podcast already. Um, but you are writing some blogs, and one of those articles that you wrote stood out to me. Um,
Mhm.
and it was hunting and outdoors, and how it affects mental health. Um, and I kind of wanted you to touch on that and tell us a little bit about that. What made you want to write it? The importance of it to you, because I have talked to many people, and you see it all over social media about um, how great it is for our souls. And so, give us just a little bit about that article.
Sure. I think it's, like we touched on earlier, a bit maybe in our age being confident in some things, it's hard to touch on the topic of mental health.
Hmm.
Um, as many resources as are out there, it's still very tough subject, and it's something. There's some family history. I do believe that some things are hereditary with it,
Hmm.
and some past relationships of that have initially ruined some things for me, but then I kind of took control of. And I think realizing when I did start hunting on my own, when I talked about the kind of people that I liked being around, um, helped build that confidence in me and helped me address some things that I was going through in my life with some of the mental health issues that I had. Um, kind of, I got to readdress some things that had been bothering me from the past that were just stuck way down in there and that come up with the different relationships that you have through the years.
Right.
And um, the biggest issue stemmed from a past relationship, and then I spent a lot of time single,
Hmm.
and then and now getting married again in June, and so there's a lot of things that had to come to a head again, and I just felt like I needed to share so that other people would feel comfortable in sharing about it. Um, Again, with some recent events, I just had a conversation with somebody regarding this, that as areas get closed down or as we're asked to shelter in place or stay home or when, when you can't get out and do something, I think that's probably my fear right now is if they do shut things down, that's my
Hmm.
release. My,
Yeah.
my release is getting outdoors as much as possible. Um, that's my form of exercise, so it's kind of double fold. Um, Getting those endorphins going and just being able to clear my thoughts, I guess, um, and try to reconstruct the way that I address those thoughts in my own head. Um, and being able to focus on something outdoors or have a goal in mind, whether you draw a tag or whether you apply for the open season, it's something to focus on and kind of recenter those thoughts for myself. And hopefully through that, at least writing it and sharing it, some other people would feel comfortable and maybe finding a way to do that for themselves.
Yeah. I think that it definitely opens a door. It opens um a way to relate to each other in that. Whether, I mean, if we think about mental health, if you think about depression, if you think about, all the different aspects of it, whether you are on a spectrum of needing medication or you are on the opposite end where a little bit of sunshine can help you out, or a mixture of both. I think that it should never be discredited, um, one way or another.
Right.
And I think that it is a valid point of closing the outdoors, and what that would do to people. I think that it would be a scary situation for me for sure. When we first kind of got into a closed down situation, it rained here for 12 days straight. Um
Oh my
it
gosh.
We had flooding, we had a whole bunch of things, but it was all of us stuck in the house, not able to go anywhere in the rain. Um Now, I will tell
Yeah.
you that sunshine came out one weekend, and I don't care how cold it was,
Mhm.
I needed to feel that sunshine on my skin. We needed to be outside, we
Yes.
needed to breathe fresh air. Um, it changes your mood, it changes your, like you said, the endorphins, it can completely transform you, um, from the outside in and back out. And so, yeah, there's validity
Yes.
in that. There's the healing aspect of it. You hear from people just getting out into the woods, learning how to hunt, being a part of the hunting community, being outside, being around nature, learning about these animals. Um, Hunting is more than just taking a shot and harvesting an animal. There's so much healing that comes from just being out there. And so I think that's what um, sparked that interest in that article when I read it. I mean, um, like you said, it's not really spoken a whole lot of. I feel like it's getting better out there and being open about it.
Mhm.
But again, that just comes with more people being open about it. So I really loved that article, and I
Yes.
wanted to highlight that in kind of the platform that Carly has put together in being transparent and relatable, um, and bringing writers and outdoorsmen together to talk about these things, whether it's easy recipes on how to cook bear, or how to plant a garden, all the way to the mental health aspect of hunting and being in the outdoors. So I'm grateful that you're a part of that.
Thank you. I was nervous
Yeah.
writing it because it was my first article
Mhm.
for her, and but for whatever reason, I trying to come up with something I had felt
Mhm.
compelled to just throw out a topic that I hadn't been reading a lot about.
Yep.
And
Well, I think that it also shows through when when it comes from your heart, when it's personal, when there's a passion behind it. Again, it shows the
mhm,
transparency. It shows the realistic side of things, and it is not necessarily sugar coated. It's not always this pretty, picturesque. Um, View of nature. Sometimes it can be really hard. And so, um, I don't know, it shows your heart, um, and it shows your openness. And I think that that's something that everybody would love to be able to read and relate to.
yes,
Yep.
yep, I
So I
agree.
think that your goal in that was reached. At least through me, it was. And I know that I'm not the only person. Um,
Well, I'm surprised. I'm hard on myself, so the positive feedback that came from it has been a little bit overwhelming, but I think that's just
yeah.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was reaffirming that that was the right thing to do,
Exactly.
the right solution. So
Good.
yes,
I'm glad that you're getting that feedback, because that then encourages, um, more pieces that can come, more articles and writings that can come that might not have to do exactly with that, but it kind of throws down that fear of, well, if I write about this, is it going to be accepted or is it going to be I hope it kind of takes that kind of like your elk hunt this year. You're not as nervous about it. Hopefully that will continue
Right.
with your writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your writing on Miss Pursuit. What Really quick, tell everybody how they can follow you, the different ways. They know that they can go to Miss Pursuit, and if you go to the contributors
Mhm.
list on the Miss Pursuit page, you can scroll through everybody and click on their names, and it'll show everybody's articles, so you can go find her on there, but where else can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram as Outdoors
Mhm.
Lady. Um, Twitter, it's Outdoors Lady
Okay.
AZ. Uh, Jessica L. Haavisto, it's HAA, two
Mhm.
A's, on on Facebook. And I'm trying to keep up with my own blog. I've been lacking lately, lazy on it. It's outdoorslady.net. But then I'm also writing for um, Great American Wildlife,
Awesome.
and I have a few articles on there. And the group that got all of this started, um, where I got involved with Carly and Great American, was with a group called Real Camo Girl. So I've been on their staff for a couple years now,
Yeah.
and so that's REEL camogirl.com, or they're on Facebook or Instagram and Twitter. And so there's monthly submissions on there, and also some tips and things like that. So that group has been amazing for kind of catapulting me into other things and being able to be a part of Miss Pursuit and the other groups. So
Awesome. Well,
yeah,
thank you. Hey, Jessica, I really thank you so much for hanging out with me and um
thank you for the invite to
you're
hang out.
welcome. It's good to hear kind of backgrounds and stories and just hear from the real person behind the words. I think it brings you to life a little bit more. And so it has been a joy to get to know you because we didn't know each other before this conversation.
Right.
Um and I love having this conversation. So it brings a not necessarily a face, but a voice and a story behind all of these words. So I appreciate it and thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Let's do it again.
Okay, sounds good. All right, you heard where you can follow her. Make sure you go to Instagram, Outdoors Lady. Follow her on Miss Pursuit, of course. Read those articles. She's on Twitter, Real Camo Girl, Great American Wildlife. She has a blog. Just go give her some love. And thanks, Jessica, again.